All right, looks like we are live. All right, welcome back to WMMA Scene Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to episode 83 of the WMMA Scene Report regular show, where we go over everything going on within the world of women's mixed martial arts, news, fight reviews, previews, a little bit of everything. Tonight, we're going to talk about the one championship Atomweight Grand Prix. Seems like it's stillborn. We'll get into that in a little bit. First up, let's start where we always start with the weekend's fight results. So there was only one ladies' fight that I could find this past weekend. Valor Fighting Challenge 77 went down in Knoxville, Tennessee this past weekend. Had a bantamweight bout. Serena De Jesus on the left there defeated Christina Adcock via unanimous decision. De Jesus climbed to 2-2. Adcock fell to 3-5. I have no idea if this fight is viewable anywhere. I didn't see it, and I didn't search too hard for it either, I'll admit. So I can't really say anything, but nice to see De Jesus get a win. Sucks for Adcock, though, falling that farther behind, the dreaded 300 record. So that is it for this past weekend's fight results. So let's get down into the news. All right, first up. UFC 259 goes down March 6th, probably in Las Vegas or on Fight Island, most likely. Anyway, they booked a strawweight bout. Livia Renata Souza is going to take on Amanda Lemos. So nice battle of Brazilian strawweights there. Then next in the news, One Championship Unbreakable 3 goes down February 5th in Singapore. It has a 115-pound bout, what they call atomweight. Stamp Fairtex coming in at 5-0 is going to take on Aliona Rasohina 12-4. Made a little video about that. Talked about how, on paper, this is the toughest test for Stamp Fairtex to date, on paper at least. But when you look into it more, it's not necessarily. Go check out that video, though. It just published it, I think, yesterday or the day before. Then Octagon 21 goes down January 30th in the Czech Republic. They've added 2 more bantamweight bouts to it. Lucia Zabova coming in at 1-0 is taking on Rizlan Zoak coming in at 3-1. And then Teresa Bleda also coming in at 1-0 is going to take on Judith Rimarzak coming in at 3-2. I made a community post about it, but keep an eye on Octagon. They are slowly building up what could become a decent bantamweight division. Most of the fighters, are just getting started, but keep an eye on that bantamweight division, because as they fight each other more and, build each other up, it could turn into a decent bantamweight division, could be a possible future feeder for the UFC. I know they have Lucia Pudilova, who's also on that card. And I remember reading somewhere, she said that the UFC matchmakers told her if she gets on a win streak again, she could get the call back up. Then UFC 258 goes down February 13th. They added a flyweight bout between Jillian Robertson and Miranda Maverick. Just did a video about that, I think, yesterday or the day before. I like that matchup. It's good battle between, 2 fighters who are primarily ground fighters, but should make for an interesting matchup there. And then the last item in the news, the Beast Championship 1 goes down February 27th in South Korea. They've announced 2 strawweight bouts. Eunbi Cho is taking on Kyolin Kim. I believe both of those fighters have losing records. And then Yerin Hong taking on In Young Che. Hong, I can't remember her record, but In Young Che, I'm pretty sure, is making her pro debut. So not the greatest of matchups there, but honestly, most of the best female fighters from Korea are already signed to Road, and they're locked in contracts, unfortunately. But you know what? For promotions just getting started, having their first event, it's nice to see that they're already announced 2 ladies bouts. So keep an eye out for that one. So that is it for the news. So no rankings updates because, no fights have been going on. So let's get down into this weekend's fight previews. First up, we're going to LFA 97 has 1 strawweight bout. Let me see. Where's it at here? Loveth Young coming in at 2-1, taking on Kelly D'Angelo coming in 4-3. Young is coming in off of a win over Rena Norville like 2.5 months ago. D'Angelo is coming off a loss at Atomweight to Alicia Zapatella just under a year ago, and has mostly campaigned at Atomweight in her career. So I think she's been in Atomweight her entire career. Going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm not going to go through all the stats because there's a bunch of fights going on. So you have an Atomweight moving up to strawweight, a little bit of an all-rounder, but from a decent ground game in D'Angelo. Loveth Young is a dangerous striker, very dangerous. Heavy hands, good Muay Thai background, just very dangerous on the feet. D'Angelo is going to have her hands full for this battle into strawweight. I'm picking Loveth Young to win this one. And then I just noticed this, didn't notice it before, so I don't have a picture available. I'm sorry about that. There is a flyweight bout on the prelims. Claire Grizzly Guthrie taking on Nadine Too Much Mandial. Guthrie coming in at 1-1. Mandial coming in at 1-1 as well. Guthrie coming in off of a split decision loss to Caitlin Salmons 5 months ago. Mandial coming off a win over Melissa Cervantes in Combat the Americas a year and 2 months ago. I just found out about this fight, didn't even notice it before now. I apologize for that one. So I don't have a pick for this one. Should be make for an interesting one, though. Nice flyweight bout between Guthrie and Mandial, both fighters who I'm kind of familiar with, but there's just not too much on them to really, hash it out what's going on between, what would go on between those two. So next up, we go to UFC Fight Night. Holloway versus Cater has a couple of bouts. First up at bantamweight, Sarah Morris versus Vanessa Mello. Morris coming in 6-6. Mello coming in at 10-8. Morris coming off a loss to Sajara Eubanks 8 months ago, preceded by a win over Liana Jojua a year and 4 months ago. Mello is riding a 3-fight losing streak ever since she got into the UFC. Most recently to Carol Hostas 6 months ago. I got to go with Sarah Morris on this one. It's mostly a battle of who can implement their game plan better, and I got to go with Morris on this one. I think she's better striker. From what I've seen, she's better on the ground. Mello has very simple counter striking, and that's it really going on for her. So I'm going to go with Sarah Morris to win this one. Got a couple viewers. Just a friendly reminder, please give the video a like to spread the word, and the chat is open, so feel free to let me know your thoughts at any time in the chat. Then we have what I thought this was a bantamweight bout. Tapology lists this as flyweight. Yanan Wu coming in, taking on Jocelyn Edwards. Mulan coming in at 11-3. La Pantera coming in at 9-2. Wu coming in off of a loss to Mizuki Inoue a year and 4 months ago. I think that was a flyweight. And then Edwards, that was a flyweight. And then Edwards coming in off of a win over Pamela Gonzalez 6 months ago. Before that, hadn't fought in almost 2 years and lost a split decision to Sarah Alpar. Edwards coming in, she is a late replacement for Betch Kohea. Haven't really seen much about her. I know this, if you're getting bullied around by Sarah Alpar, that doesn't say much. I'm pretty sure this is at bantamweight, because I don't know why Topology put this at flyweight, but pretty sure this is at bantamweight. Anyway, I'm taking Yanan Wu to win this one, or Wu Yanan, properly in Chinese. I just see her being the stronger fighter. She's pretty strong. She's got some heavy hands. Ground game is okay. I don't know, maybe I'm just being harsh on Sarah Alpar by saying this, but, you know, the inactivity is not going to be helping Edwards at all. And, you know, I mean, if your most recent fight was taking on someone with a losing record, that doesn't lend me much confidence in you either. So I'm going to go with Yanan Wu to win this one. Then at flyweight, and I know this one's definitely at flyweight, Victoria Leonardo taking on, excuse me, we're going to UFC Fight Night, Chiesa versus Magny. This is on Wednesday, by the way. Victoria Leonardo taking on Manon Fiora at flyweight. Leonardo coming in at 8-2. The Beast Fiora coming in at 5-1. Leonardo coming in off of 2 straight wins. First over Liz Tracy 3.5 months ago in Invicta. Then she pulled off what some were calling an upset over Chelsea Hackett via TKO ground and pound just under 2 months ago. Fiora coming in, riding a nice 5-fight win streak. Most recently, she captured the UAE Warriors flyweight title over Gabriela Campo via TKO. Man, she beat the crap out of Campo, too. That was a month and a half ago. This is a tough one. Leonardo is well-rounded, durable, not the cleanest of strikers, but does hit hard enough. Tends to get into some sloppy brawls. But she has a tough chin on her. Nice, strong chin. Honestly, I'd say she relies on it a bit too much. Fiora, man, heavy hands. I mean, she has some power in her hands. Her last 3 wins all come by KO, TKO. Now, doesn't have the experience level that Leonardo does. Hasn't been in with probably as tough of opponents. I mean, definitely not. But you know what? I'm going to go with, I think this will be a slight upset here. I'm going to go with Manon Fiora. I like what I see from her. If she can get a knockout win with her hands over Victoria Leonardo, that will be a very impressive UFC debut for her. But if Leonardo wins, it'll be a nice debut win for her as well. You know, Leonardo, I'll say this about Leonardo. Like I said, she's not the cleanest of fighters. Her technique, she tends to get a little sloppy, likes to get into brawls. But I'll tell you what, I've never seen her in a boring fight whatsoever. I will always cheer for Victoria Leonardo, win or lose. So just because I'm picking against her doesn't mean I won't be cheering for her. Then also on that card at flyweight as well, Roxanne Modafferi taking on Viviana Araujo. Modafferi coming in 25-17. Probably, I think she's the most experienced female fighter in the UFC right now. Vivi coming in at 9-2. Roxanne coming off a win over Andrea Lee via decision 4 months ago, preceded by a decision loss to Lauren Murphy 6 months ago. Araujo coming in off a win over De La Rosa 4 months ago, preceded by a loss to Jessica Ai a year ago. This is another interesting one. You know, Araujo, not the cleanest of strikers, but she does tend to hit heavy, and she's fast. She's one of those fighters that gets by a lot on her natural athleticism and has gotten away with being sloppy because of it. Modafferi, you know, we all know what Roxy does. She has very awkward striking and movement. A lot of that's attributable to her just being, you know, very nearsighted. I mean, she's Mr. Magoo-like with her vision, Joe. And then she, you know, strikes just enough to get in close, get the clinch, and try to get the takedown to go for ground and pound or submissions. Araujo likes to stick to her boxing. You know, in the past, I would have picked Araujo just because Modafferi used to tend to flounder against athletically superior opponents. But you know what? Roxanne, you know, last couple of years, she's worked on her conditioning, her strength and conditioning, I should say. Worked on her fitness a lot. And the athletic fighters just aren't giving her as much of a problem anymore. I mean, Andrea Lee didn't give her nearly as much trouble in the last fight as she did in the first, which tells you a lot. I'm going to go with Roxanne Modafferi to win this. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Roxanne Modafferi, probably by decision, but I could see her, possibly getting a finish here. Not very unlikely, so mostly going with decision here. According to Topology, 604 predictors, 67% Araujo, so I guess I'm going with the upset here. But I'm going to go with Roxanne Modafferi. I think she wins, keeps things interesting in the flyweight division because, as disappointing as it is that she's really not trying very hard for that title shot, which I think she should have, I think Modafferi keeps things interesting. A lot of people just hate on her and hate on her and hate on her, saying, "Oh, I got to get her out of those rankings." Hey, you know what? People actually have to beat her enough times to get her out of the rankings, and I think she keeps it interesting in there, in that top 10. So haters can suck it. All right, so that's it for the weekend preview. So I want to talk about as soon as I get my mouse working here, the One Championship Atomweight Grand Prix. So it was back in, I want to say October maybe, that they announced that they were going to be doing an Atomweight Grand Prix to start, and they'd be making the announcements, early in the new year. Well, it's already halfway into January. We have 0 announcements going on. I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure that this Grand Prix at this point is just dead in the water. I think it's stillborn. I mean, you think about it, you look at what's coming up in the calendar for One Championship. They have Mung Bo, who's the number, I think, 1 or 2 contender in One Championship's, top 5 rankings. And then you have Stamp Fairtex, who's number 5. Both of them have fights coming up. Mung Bo's fights is next Friday, and then Stamp Fairtex is February 5th. So why would you have 2 people who are heavy, favorites to be in the tournament and have them fighting very close to when you should have already have announced these brackets all by now? I mean, the whole point of this tournament really is to keep the division moving while Angela Lee is out with her pregnancy. I heard that the baby is due in April. She probably won't need up until the end of the year. I mean, April, she could be back by end of summer easily. I mean, Mackenzie Dern came back after 4 months from pregnancy, and Angela Lee is much more dedicated to fitness and everything than Mackenzie Dern has ever been. Thirsty. So you have Mung Bo, who's number 2, and Stamp Fairtex, who's number 5, and they both have fights coming up. Where is this announcement in early 2021? I think early in the year, I'm thinking sometime in January. Granted, January is only halfway over, but when you have 2 fighters that are fighting, coming up very soon, that just tells me that this announcement isn't coming up anytime soon. Honestly, I'd be really beginning to think that this announcement is stillborn. And honestly, it's hard to blame One Championship. One thing, tournaments fall through all the time in MMA. They fizzle, fighters drop out, you can't get the fighters you want. They sometimes, tournaments are messy in MMA. That's why I'm not I like them, but I'm not a tournament fanatic. There's just too many things that can go wrong with them. What else was I going to say? So, yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen very much. It's unlikely, at least right now. We'll say that. At the very least, this tournament is on the back burner, but I'm thinking right now it's more likely that it doesn't happen. Now, they could easily announce during these next 2 ladies' fights that the winner is in the Grand Prix, but what's the point? They should have already been in it anyway. I mean, Mung Bo is coming off a knockout win over Priscilla Guile back in, I want to say, December. Let me look that up here real quick. Yeah, her bout was just in. Oh, it was in November, and Fairtex is pretty much sticking to MMA. It seems like, which I thought she should have anyway. As soon as she lost both kickboxing and Muay Thai titles. So yeah, like I said, keep saying, you got two fighters within the top 5 that should be shoo-ins for the Grand Prix, and they've got fights coming up that aren't involved with the Grand Prix. So when is this announcement coming? Got to be honest, I think it's dead in the water. So I didn't want to spend too much time talking about this tonight. I just a little aside here to, give something to talk about at the end of the show here. So anyway, that's it for episode 83 of the WMMA Scene Report. Nice little show here. Very much looking forward. We've got 2 UFC events coming up honestly, 3 coming up in less than a week. We've got ones this Saturday and then Wednesday. I'll be doing another episode of this on Thursday. I think I have another stream planned before that, not connected, but so yeah, we've got 3 UFC events going on in a week. The next one's Saturday, so I'll be doing episode 84 of this before then. Equationist says, I'm willing to wait a few months, but I really hope it happens. Maybe even let Ritu Foget and Itsuki Hirata get more experience first as well. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I mean, if the whole point of the tournament was to keep the division moving while Angela Lee sits out for another freaking year, then I think they've already lost momentum. Excuse me. She's having that kid in April. She should easily be back by autumn. So, yeah, I'm just not hopeful for it. I'd like to see, Itsuki could definitely be in it. She's got I think, Itsuki Hirata needs some more experience first. She's only got like 3 wins. I don't know what's up with her. She hasn't been fighting at all. Ritu Foget, man, one is pushing her hard. Really pushing her hard. So like I said, that's it for episode 83. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for those watching live. If you're watching it on the replay, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video, please give a like. I think I mentioned that already. But while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.